minute.
Robbins leaves with just 2 points on the evening. Jamal Reed takes his spot. Final 6 minutes here from Corvallis. Bees on their way to a 5-2 start to the season. Roberto Nelson padding his stats a bit late, doing it with his back to the basket.
He can operate down there. Very smart player. Similar to Collier, knows how to get fouled down there, has good footwork.
So Nelson has his 20. Bees closing in on another 80-plus point performance as Pitt challenges. Shea Njai picks up the foul. Pitt will have a chance for his first 2 points of the night. Both teams in the bonus the rest of the way. And now that Nelson has his 20, it looks like he will take the rest of the evening off. Hollis Cook in to replace the Bees' leading scorer, the second leading scorer in the nation, although his average is going to dip just a little bit after tonight's.
For Oregon State fans, this is a look at your future right here. Malcolm Duvivier, freshman. Point guard Hollis Cook, freshman. Jamal Reed, sophomore. Charlie Barton, junior. And Njai, the freshman.
Duvivier trying to get it to Njai. Pitt leads the break with Jones running. And Njai recovering for the board. Now Cook the other way. Barton bumped as he drove. Bonus situation coming for the Bees. 4:44 to go.
You can see the Hawks kind of relinquishing pressure, knowing this one's over, but they put up a good fight. I think if they could have figured out that 1-3-1 a bit sooner and kept getting good shot opportunities, they would have had a chance to take this one. Maybe not down to the last few minutes, because I think the size of Oregon State would have taken them over before the game got close to the end, but it would have given them a better chance.
We talked a lot about the scoring tandem here tonight, and I kind of alluded to they're looking for a third scorer. Angus Brandt came out and established himself early as that guy. At the end of the year, when we look back, who do you think will be third on the scoring chart for Oregon State?
I think it'll be by committee. I can see a guy like Angus Brandt being right in there. I can see Olaf Schaftenar. If Olaf Schaftenar figures some things out and plays the way he played today, offensively allowing the game to come to him, Oregon State's going to need a zone buster. Teams are going to want to zone them because of Collier's ability. They're going to force them to shoot three-point shots, and so they can make it. And Olaf Schaftenar is one of the best three-point shooters on the team. I would say him. You can see Victor Robbins maybe chipping in here and there, but I think it'll be one of those things by committee. Hollis Cook, I think, will have some big minutes as the season continues to go on.
You left out Eric Moreland there, so my question is what kind of touches and how many offensive touches does he get?
I think Moreland gets the kind of the second chance type of points, the hustle type points. He's not someone you run plays for. He's never been that kind of player, but I think he'll clean up a lot of shots off the glass and help you out there. But in terms of catching the ball on the perimeter and operating from there, I would say Olaf Schaftenar will touch the ball more than Moreland.
But post-wise, it still goes through Collier and then maybe Angus Brandt and Eric Moreland as a third option.
For sure. You have the highest scoring tandem in the country, and Devon Collier is the leader of that, so play through him no matter what happens. And then you still have Roberto Nelson. They'll take the bulk of the shots. They'll handle the basketball, the bulk of the possessions. Have your filling guys. Moreland, he'll do a little rebounding. I think the third scoring guy will be Angus Brandt, even before Moreland, just because of Brandt's ability to rebound and then also to knock down shots. He can play that high post area. He's the better offensive threat than Moreland is.
Schaftenar trapped right in front of his own sideline. And after a Oregon State timeout, that foul will send us to our final timeout. 3:55 left in Corvallis. Beavs on top by 21.
Chase Freedom at Amazon.com and get 5% cash back this quarter. So you can find the perfect gift for everyone, including you. Activate your 5% cash back at chase.com/freedom. Chase, so you can.
No problem.
When cold refreshment calls, Coors Light answers. Frost brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
You hear that? That's the sound of car insurance companies these days. Here a cheap, there a cheap, everywhere a cheap. You get it. So what if instead of just a cheap choice, you could make a smart choice? Like Esurance, for example. They were born online and built to save people money from the beginning. That's what they've always done. Not just something they cheap about. That's insurance for the modern world. Esurance, now backed by Allstate. Click or call.
Up next, men's basketball continues. The Washington State Cougars go up against Pepperdine.
Shot clock runs down. Woolridge going hard. The trailer is Shelton.
Live coverage continues next on Pac-12 Networks. Coming up next here on the Pac-12 Network, Devontae Lacey at better than 21 points per contest awaits Pepperdine. Rich Waltz, Ernie Kent will have that one from the Palouse as soon as we're done here in Corvallis and back at Gill Coliseum. 81-60 our score as we close out part one of this triple header. Olaf Schaftenar misses the first of two free throws. He's got 9 points on the night. All 9 have come from three-point range. Only the 5th and 6th free throws that Schaftenar has attempted this season. Roberto Nelson resting with 20, Devon Collier with 24, so that tandem has teamed up to go for 44 here again tonight. And for Collier, it's his 5th straight 20-point performance, by far the longest stretch of his career.
Interested to see how long that continues. Well, he's so tough down there. You know, I've always wondered why he doesn't get the ball more. He's going to have to be prepared for double teams pretty soon. I expect teams in the near future to begin double him and testing his passing ability. And coming into tonight, his assist-to-turnover ratio was not very good. 5 assists to 9 turnovers. So teams will put him in a position to have to make different types of decisions. Try to take him out of his comfort zone.
Remember that play you pointed out in the first half where Roberto Nelson relocated for a three-point shot?
Yep.
I mean, it's going to have to be him and Olaf kind of relocating along the perimeter to get feeds from Collier to make teams pay for doubling down.
Yeah, teams are going to make them go to the second and third options, not just throw down to Devon and let him operate. We're going to force Devon to make a pass and force the person who catches the pass to make another pass and make basketball plays, as we see from Langston Morris Walker, who's been battling for minutes. And Craig Robinson has said, you know, it's nothing wrong that Langston is doing. It's just there's other guys that are playing pretty well. But Morris Walker, one of those guys, just being a sophomore, he's one of the future potential stars for the Beavers. A very athletic wing, good shot.
Some nifty English off the glass there to complete the three-point play. Jones had the hot hand for a while, but I think we're showing kind of the true colors of Maryland Eastern Shore here. As the game has gotten long, their three-point shot has disappeared. Not true, though, for Alice Cook.
They are who we thought they were, right?
They just did not have the statistical history to back up the three-point shooting that they were demonstrating in the first half. Smith gets inside to add to his total. 13 points for Isaac Smith III.
The Beavers still with a chance to get 100 this game. They continue pushing tempo. I expect the bench to realize the score pretty soon and start trying to urge these guys on of pushing the pace.
Jones misses everything. Only player to touch the ball in that possession for the Hawks. Shea Jai back into the contest. Quick 30-second timeout on the floor. Will Beavers be out for revenge against Townsend? You think enough of these guys
they have to be.
Can think back to last year, remember how that felt?
They better. Let me tell you something. If they don't remember that, then that is a problem in itself. Because that was a game that they were not supposed to lose. And Towson is not a bad team. We mentioned the name Jarrell Benjamin. They better have his name circled on the Skyway report because last year he ate them up.
And Marcus Danis, too. He hit the game winner, stepped inside the three-point line. The go-ahead shot with about 3 seconds left, if memory serves.
That's right.
We'll have Towson, Payek, Utah, Stanford, all for you here on the Pac-12 networks, part of the upcoming schedule. There are also 2 more games after the Akron contest to be determined based on how the bracket shapes up. The Diamond Head Classic.
Yep. And then that first Pac-12 game, open it up at probably the toughest road venue in the conference. Colorado.
Buffs coming off their upset of Kansas. There are still some great Pac-12 resume win opportunities here in the month of December. Stanford is going to go play at UConn, and then they've got Michigan in Brooklyn.
They have to win one of those two. We talked about that. It's a must that they get at least one. If they get 2, now you're looking really good.
They had a nice win over Davis coming off their 12-day break for finals. UCLA is going to take on Duke. Pac-12 already has a win over the Blue Devils thanks to Arizona. Colorado, this is where I was going, is they take on Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Another ranked program out of the Big 12. That game will be in Vegas. And then Cal is going to be at Creighton next to take on the Hermits, a father-son combination. What a crafty finish there by Malcolm DeVivier.
Malcolm DeVivier looks like he could be playing in that bowl game when he goes to Hawaii with this. I mean, he doesn't look like a freshman. And there you see the strength on that move, just taking the hit and focusing in. Very athletic as well. He can get up above the rim.
DeVivier had 5 total points. Coming into tonight, has 7. Leaves his 8th on the line. 2 minutes to go here at Gill Coliseum. I mean, there are some other big-time games coming up on the schedule, like Oregon hosting BYU. For instance. But just think if the Pac-12 can add, say, 3 or 4 more of those pelts to their resume before we turn the calendar, that's going to buoy the whole conference when it comes selection time.
You are exactly right, and that's why all the coaches cheer for one another in non-conference play. They know the significance of it once Selection Sunday rolls around in March.
You mean even like here in Corvallis, they're happy about the Ducks being undefeated?
This might be the only school that doesn't cheer for its rival. I mean, I'm telling you, being a former Beaver myself, the hate for the University of Oregon runs deep around here.
I actually know some Sun Devils that have been biting their tongue and just kind of riding out the storm here as long as Arizona stays undefeated. They realize that it probably means good things for ASU.
Yeah. And that's the thing you have to realize is in a weird, roundabout, indirect way, the success of your rivals in the non-conference helps you.
Does Arizona have a real shot at running the table?
I think so. Now listen, it's not something that happens. You know, every coach, even Sean Miller, is probably telling his guys, hey, look, at some point we will probably face defeat. We don't want to, but if we do, we want it to be before the tournament starts. But it's just so difficult to run a table. But with how good they are defensively, their ability to switch out on anything, you put Brandon Ashley, Caleb Tarzewski, the bigs for Arizona, on point guards, and they defend very well. That's just something every team doesn't have. And when they're clicking offensively and you combine that with the defensive ability.
And that's it, the defensive ability, because the offense isn't always going to be clicking, but they defend well enough every night.
Well.
Charge taken there by Langston Morris Walker. Also want to point out Michael Moyer getting some minutes here, and C.J. Mitchell as well, some of the reserves for Oregon State.
And it's always nice if you're a starter on the bench to see the reserves get a chance to play, because you know what these guys go through. They go through the same battles in practice and travel and everything, you know, tests, finals. I mean, they go through the whole process together, so you like to see them have a chance to get the opportunities that you usually get.
And how could I forget Daniel Jones, who everyone in the building wanted to shoot
as
there.
soon as he caught it, they wanted to go up. Langston, hey, he ain't no fool. He knows court, so he's going to take advantage of every minute.
Hit down the lane. Now Walker has it. No, just the point about Arizona. I think the key is getting to the new year undefeated. In fact, if Arizona and Oregon can both arrive in conference play without a blemish, then every team in the league is, of course, going to be gunning for them because they know how big a resume win that would be. Travis Trim, a sophomore, gets what should be the final bucket for the Hawks. Oregon State can dribble this one out and improve to 5-2.
Well, this is about the loudest we've heard this crowd. And it's not just because of Oregon State's victory, it's because they won 100 points. But Craig Robinson just wants the victory. He wants his team to get better. I think in the second half, they got better after a slow start in the first half. And going away from the game plan, it took mental discipline more than anything else. Physically, they were superior to Maryland Eastern Shore, but mentally, that's where they won the game in the second half.
Yeah, especially taking that game plan or whatever was adjusted in the halftime locker room and bringing it right on the court and executing it. I mean, the first 5 minutes of that second half looked like the first few possessions of the first half where everything was inside out.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. And if you're a good team, you follow those game plans. As simple as it might sound, throw the ball to the post. It takes a mentally strong team to stick with that, even though other things may look open. You want to pass up good shots for great shots.
We'll quickly recap before we send you over to Washington State for that game between Pepperdine and the Cougs. Another 20-plus point effort for Devon Collier. His fifth consecutive game of 20 or more points. He and Roberto Nelson leading the way in the scoring column as well in this 98-64 victory. So for Lamar Hurd, I'm J.B. Long. Our producer today, Aaron Owens. Our director, Steve Turnberger. The first of 3 games on the Pac-12 Network today. Next up, Pepperdine and Washington State. Rich Waltz and Ernie Kent will have the call for you. Good night from Corvallis and Gill Coliseum.
Washington State getting set to take on Pepperdine. We welcome those of you who have been watching Oregon State, University of Maryland Eastern Shore. We've got Cougars and Waves ready to go. Our insurance starting lineups. For Pepperdine, we told you about Brendan Lane and a couple of other guys you need to watch. Stacey Davis is a scorer, and Jeremy Major is a flashy and speedy 5'10" point guard. For Washington State, everybody knows Devontae Lacey can score. DJ Shelton has been rebounding of late. The Cougars are hopeful that big man Jordan Rayleigh, the 7-footer, the transfer from Iowa State, can assert himself. Ken Bowen feels that his team is starting to make progress. I guess the question is, can that progress come quick enough? The Pac-12 opener's 2 weeks away.
Well, the big thing for Washington State in this game is they want to play with a lot of confidence, but more importantly, they got to do a lot of the little things that they did in that tournament in Florida. They got to continue to grow off those things, and hopefully they'll be able to do that.
I don't know about you, but watching Pepperdine practice today and talking to Marty Wilson, you feel like the future in Malibu is bright, and the future is getting here faster than I think some people thought. They're pretty good.
Well, they're pretty good, and they were unfortunately picked by the media to finish last in their conference. And as I told him, let me tell you something. The media spends no time with your team in the summer. They have no idea who's come back with more confidence, bigger, stronger, better. And this team passes the eye test when you walk in the gym to look at them. I had a game with theirs last year, and, you know, they've gotten bigger, stronger. They've got 8 new players. How could the media possibly know how good those 8 new players are? He's got himself a ball club. This is going to be a really good basketball game.
And as you saw, they played last year. This is the 3rd straight year they've played. Washington State won up here 2 years ago. Pepperdine won down in Malibu last year. Washington State coming off a close one, a 1-point win against Idaho. And the Waves of Pepperdine took down a very good UC Irvine team. Irvine, who handled Washington pretty easily. Pepperdine beat Irvine by 6. And there's a look at Brendan Lane, the former UCLA Bruin. Dexter Kernick drew in the backcourt for Washington State. A sparse crowd here in Pullman, and one of the things that Ken Bowen has talked about is getting his team to play with energy. We'll see how they do In the first 5 minutes, Rayleigh wins the tip. First possession goes Washington State. Royce Woolridge in the backcourt, along with Kernick Drew and Devontae Lacey. Rayleigh posting up. Shelton flashes to the bucket. And an easy 2 to start things for Washington State.
Well, Pepperdine started out in a 2-3 zone, and Shelton did a nice job of just cutting what you should do right down the middle of that zone for an easy 2 points.
Washington State opens man-to-man pressure. With the ball, Jeremy Major out of Pasadena, California. Lane lost it, and it's Lacey. Lane trailing, and Lacey sends it in.
Now, Rich, I saw you earlier on comparing yourself to some of these guards on the floor. There is no way you have hops like that. That's what I meant when I said, a guy may be 6'2", 6'3", 6 feet, but they play bigger because of their athleticism.
And you talk about energy. Washington State has come out with energy in the first minute of this ball game.
Well, I love the way they take their defense and turn it into their offense, and this is just a big-time play there by Devontae Lacey to be able to break loose like that, and then he gets fouled at the other end of the floor, and Washington State gets the ball back again.
Washington State went 1-2 in the Old Spice tournament in Orlando, but they played well there. A 7-point loss to Butler. They beat Purdue by 15 and then lost to St. Joe's. This is Rayleigh backing in, little head fake, and a jump hook that goes. If the Cougars can get points out of Jordan Rayleigh, that would be a big help headed towards early January and that road trip to Arizona. Right now, Pepperdine looks lost offensively.
Well, they're lost because Washington State's doing a good job of up-the-line defense. They are denying them, and see how they're making their offense stretch out because of that up-the-line defensive pressure.
Malcolm Brooks, his pass out near half court. Stacey Davis saves it. Shot clock is down. It sits at 5. Lane needs to get a shot up. He does. Blocked by Rayleigh. And here comes Lacey.
Good job of Rayleigh of showing his hands the entire defensive possession that time.
Kernick Drew penetrates to the bucket, and he scores. My goodness, where's this been for Washington State?
Don't tell me you're getting ready to say they should send the students home more often, because I'm going to tell you where it's been. Realize this team has been on the road for 21 days, and they found themselves. They've come together. Rayleigh, I mean, this is just textbook jump hook up and over the top. Great footwork, great follow through. And in the other end, Kernick Drew, three-point shooter. That time he shot fakes, puts it on the floor, and gets to the hole.
Now, you and I have seen Washington State enough this year to know, and Ken Bone told us about this today. Slow starts, bad first halves. That's been a problem for Washington State, and they've come out with a purpose here in the first 2 minutes.
I think what has happened to them, when you go on the road and you're away from your campus for 21 days, since they've been back here to play a game, I should say, that they spend a lot of time in practice by themselves. And when you have that kind of solitary time as a team like that, you tend to come together. That's what he meant today when he said they're starting to find their rhythm, find their roles, what they're supposed to do. And right away, they look like a different basketball team than we saw about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
8-0 Washington State. Devontae Lacey with a couple. And Pepperdine goes to work, trying to feed the post. Double team comes. Kernick Drew on the floor after it. It's tied up, held ball, and it's going to stay with Pepperdine. Shot clock sits at 22.
I love Washington State's defensive intensity, and again, they're playing up the line. They're forcing Pepperdine to go further away from the basket to run their offense, and that's why you're seeing that shot clock being a factor early on.
Major to inbound it. This is Davis, Stacey Davis, 6'6", 245. Good shooter, strong, and he misses his first jumper. Washington State would like to push tempo tonight if they can. And skip pass is knocked out of bounds. Stays with Washington State.
Talk about that great defense. You can see that pressure on the ball. They're active. They get on the floor after loose balls. Different kind of team. Remember now, this team played Butler to one possession. They should have beat them, I thought. And then they beat a very strong physical Purdue team. They battled St. Joe's. And again, they go and beat Idaho. At Idaho, this team is greatly improved. And I like the fact that their focus is where it needs to be.